What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter on this Tuesday, October the 21st, 2025. We have a lot to talk about in today's video, including severe weather that is likely to brew across the southern plains as we get to later this week. Damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes are all on the table. We're also going to be checking in on Tropical Storm Melissa that is building across the Caribbean later on in the video. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. We cover Canada, the United States, the tropics, and when you do subscribe, make sure to press the all so you get all my videos and live streams when I do post them to my YouTube channel. Like the video, give it 1,000 likes. I would love to hit that today, and also share with a friend, family member, and on social media. So without further ado, let's get into the forecast. Like I mentioned, severe weather is a possibility once we get to later this week on Thursday, across portions of the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma and southern Kansas. But for now, let's look at our temperature trends through the week. We have cooler air across the eastern United States. That's highlighted in blue, which means below normal temperatures are favored there in the blue. Above normal temperatures in the orange and red, that's more favored for the plains on westward, and a more near normal across the west coast here for the week ahead. So here are your high temperatures. One of the coldest days of the season is expected across the upper Midwest, as areas near the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the La Crosse there into western Wisconsin, over eastern Wisconsin to Green Bay, we're going to be struggling to reach 50 degrees. In fact, struggling to even reach the mid 40s this afternoon, making it the coldest day so far this season up there. We are still talking record highs down here toward Corpus Christi, Brownsville, and areas near Victoria, Texas, where we're going to be seeing highs into the middle and upper 90s this afternoon. And as we go into Wednesday, notice that cooler air is still spilling in across the Great Lakes region into the interior sections of the Northeast. And then as we go into Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, notice a lot of that cooler fall-like temperatures will remain locked in place across the United States into the weekend ahead. Not only just during the day, we have to watch out at night and early in the morning for your frost and freeze risk out here. Wednesday morning looking at upper 20s, low 30s for a good chunk of the northern plains like the Dakotas and Nebraska, into the upper Midwest of Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. And then once we get to Thursday morning, that's going to become more widespread. So I think frost advisories, freeze watches, and warnings likely going to be issued from your local National Weather Service offices up here into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region as we go into Thursday, and then going into Friday. Friday looks to be the coolest morning, where we could even see low 20s for temperatures into the Arrowhead of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin near Lake Superior in the valleys up there. And then by the time we get to the weekend, probably some frost freeze risk for the Great Lakes like Michigan and the Northeast. But I think the upper Midwest like the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin will be raising those low temperatures up a little bit, so we don't have a frost freeze risk for the weekend, more into the 40s starting off in the morning. Now we are looking at a thunderstorm risk as we go into this afternoon near Detroit, Toledo, and Cleveland, where we have a chance for a couple of stronger thunderstorms up there in the dark green. Isolated severe weather with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail, primarily the threat here. An isolated brief tornado cannot be ruled out, but overall the tornado threat is low. Going into the day tomorrow on Wednesday, October 27th, looking here, 22nd rather, we are looking here at a thunderstorm risk for the desert Southwest, southern Texas, southern Florida, and the eastern Great Lakes Northeast. None of those are expected to be severe on Wednesday. And then going into Thursday, looking at a threat for possibly a few stronger storms: Amarillo, Lubbock, and Midland, eastward into Woodward, into Oklahoma City, Lawton, Fort Sill, Tulsa, and even southern tier of counties there into southern Kansas. Mainly going to be a damaging wind threat, large hail threat, but an isolated tornado or two cannot be ruled out once we get to Thursday, and this could also be upgraded and expanded in coverage as well. So like we always do, let's look at the eastern U.S. view first. We'll look at the central U.S. view second, and the western U.S. view third. So let's look here at the east. We are seeing a cold front moving through. This is a reinforcing shot of some cooler air, and as it moves through with an upper level low spinning across the Great Lakes, promising some thunderstorms. A lot of vorticity with this, and that's lifting the air up, right? And you get lifting air, you get thunderstorms, and some of those could be strong underneath that cold core low across the Detroit area, Toledo, and even into Cleveland as we head into the late afternoon and even the early evening hours. A few showers may be possible across the I-95 corridor. This could potentially rain in on areas near Washington, D.C., into the Atlantic City area, Dover, up to Philly and Baltimore, New York City as we go into the evening hours. And then we'll say partly cloudy skies today for the southeastern U.S. Starting off Wednesday, showers and a few rumbles of thunder moving across the northeast. We'll start with an overcast sky as well across much of the Great Lakes, the northeast. And we'll end with an overcast sky, maybe some peaks of sun for the I-95 corridor, Boston down to New York City and Washington, D.C. as we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening, although we're still going to have that cold core low spinning across Ontario and Quebec, which will spin in some showers and storms for the Great Lakes as we go into tomorrow. Now, the central United States, much of the central southern plains are seeing some bright sunshine here this afternoon. That will likely continue as we go into the evening hours with mostly clear skies. Cloud cover is most prominent from areas near the Twin Cities to Waterloo to Rockford to Chicago and a lot of Wisconsin there, Madison, Milwaukee, all the way up there into Rhinelander. And some of this could be low enough to potentially produce some rainfall. We could have some lowering clouds, rainfall as we go through the evening hours. Starting off the day on Wednesday, starting off mostly cloudy in Chicago, Madison, and also Rochester, Minnesota. But as we go through the day, we're going to peel away the cloud cover and we'll call it a partly cloudy sky for tomorrow afternoon and evening. Clouds will increase, at least higher level clouds across the Amarillo area into portions there of Nebraska, into Kansas and Oklahoma, going into Wednesday night across the central and southern plains. Western United States, we have partly cloudy skies across the Pacific Northwest, mostly clear across the desert Southwest. This is going to continue. We'll have an increase in clouds across the West Coast going into tomorrow morning into the afternoon. That could thicken and lower and produce a little bit of shower activity in the lower elevations of California, especially northern and central California into Nevada. We also could have some drizzle and showers for Seattle down to Medford and Eugene. We'll keep an eye on that in Oregon. And then some of that moisture traveling up again, higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain in the Rockies heading into Thursday morning. Let's look at Thursday morning. That pesky low is finally going to be moving out of the Great Lakes region, and this could be bringing some drizzle for a couple more days into Friday across the Northeast. New system developing here in the southern plains could spell out the chance for severe weather even going into Friday. We'll keep an eye on that. And then a third system developing in the Pacific Northwest, bringing multiple days of rainfall there for the weekend. 4 portions of the Pacific Northwest, higher elevation snow as well. And that takes us all the way through the day on Sunday. So let's look at the setup for severe weather across the southern plains. Oklahoma, especially southern Oklahoma into North Texas, dew points where you see these medium and darker greens, that's into the 50s, low 60s for dew points. And notice that increases through the nighttime hours Thursday and even into Friday. I think Friday could be a bigger day for severe weather if there's not a lot of overturning of the moisture transport from the Gulf. And you can see a lot of instability starting to build there for this time of year. I think more instability on Friday. So Friday could be a relatively bigger day for severe weather in southern Oklahoma and into Texas, including Red River Valley region as we go into Friday. The jet stream is also going to be playing a big part in this. Not very strong jet streak, but enough of a lift here with a little tut or trough across the southern plains, Texas hill country that will provide lift to these storms to develop as we go and organize into the weekend. So for Thursday morning, we're going to look at some isolated storm activity into the afternoon. Still kind of remaining isolated, widely scattered. Got to watch for those supercells. The individual storm cells that develop could have enough rotation on them to produce a couple of tornadoes. Otherwise, damaging winds and hail will be the main threat. That will go late night into Friday morning, and then Friday morning we could have what we call an MCS, a mesoscale convective system developing in southern Kansas. That'll drop southeast into the better instability through the day and intensify as it does. Ahead of that, we got to watch supercells in east and central Texas. Some of those could produce tornadoes going into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Nonetheless, looks to be rainy down here across the southern tier of the U.S., including the Gulf Coast states, all the way eastward towards Georgia and South Carolina. Multiple inches of rain down here through 7 a.m. on Monday, October 27th. Some pesky rain across the Great Lakes into the Northeast. Heavier rainfall relatively over here into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and then up into Quebec. And then our third system coming in into the Pacific Northwest, giving us some heavy rain in Northern California, Western Oregon, and also Western Washington state as well. Again, mainly in the form of rainfall. Any snowfall we see is going to be confined to the higher elevations of the Rockies, Cascades, or Sierras in the Pacific Northwest or Southwest. Most of the snowfall, if we zoom out the picture, will be up to the north in Western Canada and Alaska up there. We could be seeing some pretty heavy snowfall for British Columbia in the order of feet. So we could be seeing 4 to 6 feet more of snow in the higher elevations of western coastline of British Columbia, up into southwestern Yukon there into Canada, and coastal Alaska as well as we go through 7 a.m. on Monday, October 27th. Well, we're also watching for some very gusty winds here across the upper Midwest into the Ohio Valley, where you see these brighter greens and oranges. That's where wind gusts could easily be over 40, if not 50 miles per hour as we head through the weekend. So a breezy next couple of days, in fact, breezy enough to where the local National Weather Service offices up here into the upper Midwest, into Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, northwestern Illinois are prompting wind advisories here in these tan shaded colors. So make sure to hang on to your hats as we go here through the next couple of days. Now let's look here at the long range heading into next week. Monday, October 27th through Friday, Halloween, October 31st. Trough across the east, a little bit of weak ridging across the desert southwest. So that is going to keep our temperatures near normal to slightly below normal here in the east and southeast. A little bit above normal up there into Canada, and then a little bit above normal also for Southern California through Arizona and New Mexico and West Texas. And then cooling off below normal again next week across the Pacific Northwest. As far as precipitation is concerned, a little bit drier further to the south toward Texas. That's where we're seeing all the heavy rainfall later this week. We'll dry out next week. We'll get the wetter weather further north and especially east over here toward the eastern seaboard. And you can see the European model here is much drier for the upper Midwest, but it has that rainfall curving up through the eastern seaboard. So areas in the east, the Carolinas all the way to Maine, are going to potentially see some pretty heavy rainfall next week. And you can see the GFS model a little bit more rainy across the upper Midwest, so there's a lot of uncertainty here. So nearly no rain on the European model in the upper Midwest, a lot of rain on the GFS American model here in the upper Midwest. That is some uncertainty we're going to have to hash out as we go into next week. Let's look here at early November. We're going to have a very volatile weather pattern. A lot of these ridges and troughs crossing through the U.S. This is what we call progressive flow. This is what we're going to see from west to east as we go through Veterans Day on November 11th and my birthday on November 12th. And you can see this is going to be largely for the first week of November, bringing us cooler weather in the east, cooler weather in the Pacific Northwest with warmer than normal temperatures in between. Now keep in mind, early November, our normal highs and lows are coming down. So that means it won't be hard to get above normal temperatures even into early November. So it doesn't mean it's going to be 95 here every day in Texas or New Mexico. Keep that in mind, but it does mean above normal temperatures are favored into early November. You can see in contrast, that's the European ensemble guidance. The GFS ensemble is a little bit warmer for the Pacific Northwest, a little bit cooler for the Southeast. We'll keep tabs on that. The European extended ensemble guidance also wetter further to the north, but it is also the GFS ensemble guidance that is drier across majority of the central and eastern U.S., and it actually pushes that storm track further north into Canada. So there's still some uncertainty here. We'll keep an update on this as we go into late October for your early November forecast. That is for sure. Let's take you out to the tropics. Tropical storm Melissa has formed in the Caribbean, and it is going to remain in the Caribbean for quite some time. This is going to be a slow-moving system here. For Jamaica, there are tropical storm watches up. For areas near Haiti, we have hurricane watches up right now here in the salmon color. Hurricane is expected to develop by the time we get to the weekend. So let's track this. Ensemble guidance really remaining into the Caribbean largely with the system, which will help it to develop very quickly. And you can see that here. Even the GFS ensemble kind of wants to quickly take it out to sea over the Dominican Republic or Cuba or even Haiti and even the eastern Bahamas. Be keeping an eye on that. Well, like we mentioned for several days when this system showed up, the Caribbean, the water temperatures down here are pristine. There hasn't been a lot of tropical activity this hurricane season in the Caribbean. This is going to play a big role in how strong the system gets because the water temperatures down here especially south and east of Jamaica and south of Haiti, are a good 2 to 3 degrees Celsius above normal pace of what we should see in late October. So it is pretty warm down here, and you can see here's the European model, and you can see it just sits here for a lot of days across the Caribbean and sits there and sits there and sits there until it finally moves across Cuba as we go into around the 30th and the 31st. So we're going to keep an eye on that. That could also impact the Bahamas and indirectly impact Florida. Now, if we look at the GFS, a lot faster of a progression with the system, takes it out to sea much faster, and it keeps it away from the Bahamas largely as well. So there is some disagreement in the track of the system, as you typically would see, because there's a lot of factors that are slowing this system down, as far as, say, a trough in the eastern U.S. or maybe a ridge developing. So there's a lot of background factors in this environment that is going to either A, speed up the system, or B, slow down the system here. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Let's look here at the Pacific side. There's a 70% chance likely development of a new system developing here. Good news about this one, it is moving away from North America, away from Mexico, so it looks to be an open water fish storm here at this point. And you can see the ensemble guidance is largely in agreement to that. Even Hawaii is safe from the system, because I think as it moves further to the west, look at those water temperatures further west toward Hawaii. They're actually a little bit cooler than what you should see in late October, which would likely weaken this system as it pushes further to the west. And before we go, let's look at the long-range tropical outlook. So going through Halloween on the end of October, the Caribbean and mainly the eastern Pacific near the coast of Mexico will be something to watch. Once we go into early November, say the first 8 days of November through the 8th, I think the tropics really start to quiet down, and the Atlantic hurricane season may ultimately come to an end as we go into November. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my weather forecast, make sure to give it a like. I would love to hit 1,000 likes today. Also share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. We cover Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. And also thank you all for your support. I definitely appreciate it. And when you subscribe to the channel, turn it on to all, so you get all my videos, all my live streams that I post on my YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, everybody, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your Tuesday out there.